Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we are going to try our second game, solo game here of the Axis Nallies North Africa by Renegade Games. And in the first one, I made a few mistakes, a couple of significant ones, and then a few that are just minor ones, but I'm glad I found out. And I hope I don't mispronounce his name, Matt Hyra. He was kind enough to chime in and list a number of the errors I made or things I could not interpret from the rule book correctly. So he chimed in. So thank you very much. Appreciate that, Matt, and keep bringing the corrections because absolutely. Overall, I really enjoy this game. I just want to make sure I'm playing it correctly. So today we are going to start from turn 7, or pardon me, round 7. And this is where Operation Torch has happened. And so the Americans are on the ground here in North Africa, but they still have to fight the Vichy units here. Now, there's a couple of things in my first video that people were asking about, so I'm going to clear those up as we go. So in the book and on the setup charts, it says that the Americans cannot buy aircraft. And that's all it says, right? It just says you cannot requisition air units. Now, it's under the round 7 special rules, but it has a note of finality to it, that you cannot requisition air units. But you can, but just starting on round 8. Okay, so you can do that. As far as the Americans having the special long-range reconnaissance group jeeps, they've got these little guys here. Oh, he fell over. Oh, come on. All right. So the British have some of these to start the game, and the Americans have the Sculpts, but they are for optional rules. They are not included in the regular rules. So if you want to do a custom scenario, you can certainly do that. So that's kind of cool that they threw those in there for you. Also, something that I totally missed. When I read them, it made sense, and then I forgot to implement it. Aircraft cannot land, or can only land in friendly territories, or pardon me, friendly controlled territories. And if you look here, there are some units in territories and there's no control markers. Well, that's because you cannot control a territory that doesn't have an IPC value on it. So you can see Benghazi and Tobruk do. But you'll see that Mersa Matruh, with all that stuff in it, is not controlled. Okay, so the Axis could not land planes there. All right, so that's something that I'm going to have to get used to, because that's a new twist. It's something we've never seen before, and which is cool. The supply tokens, I don't think I utilize them very well, but when defending, you can use supply tokens, and attacking party. When attacking, you can use supply tokens from around you. Now, I did go through the rules looking about defense, and it just said they need to spend a defense token in order to fight if they're not self-sufficient, i.e., infantry, typically. And so it is, and also the little long-range desert group guys, they're self-sufficient as well. But self-sufficient means that they don't have to spend a supply token in defense at all. They can just fight on their own. All right. So if you go to attack a stack of infantry and you say, hey, they don't have any supply, it doesn't matter. They can still defend for free. Let's see, what else did you write here? Yes, the British Matildas, all right, the tanks, which are $5 and nice and cheap, do not have a blitz. They cannot move 2. So last game I had them do kind of an end run around the static Axis lines, but they cannot do that. So I'm going to keep that in mind. There's some things that he thought I did that I actually didn't do. I just maybe didn't set it up properly. Now, the one thing about the French units here is they can be placed, and it says if the Allies control Oran, right, so that's this territory here, it says that the U.S. player may requisition one per turn, deploying immediately. And in my mind, it's totally my fault. In my mind, that seems like, oh, you just get it, but you don't. There is a cost. So 3 for the infantry, 4 for the tank. And again, you can see not great units, but you can throw them in there. And the great thing is that they do deploy immediately. So if the Iran convoy zone isn't filled and your stacking limit of 10 here hasn't been reached, you can instantly throw some units in there and get them into the fight. So that is very handy, especially for the price. You can't put sea mines where there are enemy ships present. So that's important. And also the landmines. Once they're here, you're supposed to detonate them when somebody drives in. And I think in my last game at Tunis, I had lined up some landmines and I didn't use them in the final battle. So it's important to remember that to use your landmines. Now, playing solo has its own challenges, and playing solo of a brand new game that has dozens of new rules and nuances to it is challenging in its own right. So I apologize to Matt and the team at Renegade, and hopefully this game here will be a bit more accurate in its portrayal of the rules and the mechanics of the game. So we're going to get going here. Couple of things about the first round is that these British troops cannot do anything on the British turn, which, they're just there. But on the American turn, they can attack with the Americans. The other thing is that Germany, with all this great material, skips their first turn. And this is only in this scenario. You don't skip their turn if you're doing the Rommel's last push. They get their round 7 turn, but in Operation Torch, they do not get their first turn. So we're going to start with the UK, and we're going to see how we do. I'll let you see what I've got for reinforcements here. The 2 Sherman tanks are a given. And then I decided to get a little bit of naval power. That seemed to actually get more important as the game went on. And then a bomber. Now, I'm supposed to put $12 worth of stuff in here. And a question I have for Matt, because it does say units, but on this here, it does say unit as well. So can I buy landmines and sea mines in order to fill up my Atlantic convoy, because the bomber's only 10, so I got $2 I haven't spent. I'm assuming no, because you're supposed to place them immediately, and so having those sitting there seems kind of weird. So I'm not going to do that, and maybe there's a note that I missed. There's probably a note I missed where you can't buy landmines or sea mines with your convoys for the British, but we shall find out. So on to round 7, which is the first round of this version. And we'll see what the British do. They got problems over here in the east. Can they break through? All right, just a quick question here. If somebody can answer, maybe Matt can chime in. The German submarines must be deployed in Germany's Sea Unit Deployment Zone, C1, south of Portugal. All right, so that is, of course, right there, so there's no confusion. Nice image of a German U-boat, so that's cool. But then it says, as their elite submarine crews enable them to move and attack in the same turn that they are deployed. Well, the deployment seems to happen at the end of the round. So I'm just wondering how it works. Are they allowed to then make an attack? So you put them on the board and they get a special attack. So somebody can let me know. That would be great. And just another quick addendum here. You can see now, if you were paying attention, I have reversed where the ship and the long-range desert group is, and the bomber. So I switched them because I started the destroyer in the Indian Ocean, but I must start it where these silhouettes are. So in case you caught that and you were typing in a comment, there you go. All right, we're headed to round 8 here, and we'll show you what we can see. And as you can see, Marissa Matra is now firmly in British hands, and it took a couple rounds of combat, but they got her done. And the Germans, we had 3 units at the end of the first round of combat, now that we could retreat, but they still get shot at. So I decided to stay and fight, and they all got killed. And we're able to take 1 more infantry. The mine went off, only kept 1 infantry out of the fight, and they were able to get a couple more during the battle. So that's about it there. The lone German anti-tank, anti-aircraft gun is sitting in Tobruk because, of course, the Germans don't have a turn. The Italians have brought everybody back to Benghazi, hoping to make some sort of a stand, and well, they likely will make a stand there. I'm just not sure what's all going to be in there. Probably put the German stuff here and maybe send a force in. Depends on where the British go, but the Italians may try to be a bit of a blocker. We'll see how much German stuff we can get in there. I'm not sure how they're supposed to hold Tobruk, but maybe they're not supposed to, because if the British actually are lucky enough to go forward 1 space per turn, that's the end of round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, round 7. And there are only 7 rounds. So they would have to just be relentless with this much stuff. And any of the reinforcements they bring. Now the road's helpful for the tanks and the trucks, which can carry the men and artillery, so it's possible. Yeah, hopefully you caught that little addendum I put in there. Over here, the Italians must go into the Tripoli convoy. That's why there's nothing in Benghazi. So that's unfortunate. We brought in some Italian stuff to go along with the mines into the Malta convoy zone, and so I shied away from putting anything in there as the British, knowing that the Italians could hit it with a bunch of air power. Now their air power has been brought down to Benghazi and Amarith, so they might be able to get in there. The Italians did bring their destroyers in. So that will be telling. The Germans, of course, their stuff languishing here in the Med, will be coming aboard shortly. Now the stacking limit in Tunis is 13, and there are 7 units in there now, so they can bring in the 4 and be okay. Over here, these were 3 very interesting battles. The one in Morocco, 1 round and done, and they killed them both and without loss. And I think without loss. Yeah, and Algiers the same thing. But Oran, that has the 2 French and the 1 tank, put up a heck of a fight and got hits in all 3 rounds. And so the Americans are down to 1 guy and a couple of supply tokens. So that was a rough go. I had the British build some destroyers because I think if we can slam shut the Tunis convoy, this will be a faster game. Well, not faster, but easier for the Allies. So I'm going to put a little bit of pep in the step here in the water. Now, I do have to be careful because the Americans will always have to put their stuff into the Casablanca convoy, and the Germans are allowed to put in their subs. Again, I'm not sure about the subs getting placed and being able to attack, so hopefully somebody will weigh in on that, and we can figure out, because if that's a thing, if you know, you can deploy your reinforcements and then go for it, right then you get a free attack or something, that would change the game. Then the Germans, I think, would pour money into subs and keep this convoy having to spend money on naval units instead of ground units. So hopefully I can find out about that. Okay, on we go. Round 2, otherwise known as round 8. We'll see what happens here. This is going to be interesting. On to round 9, and the march continues here. As you can see, Tobruk was taken because there just wasn't anything for them to put up a fight with. So the lone German went backwards, and the Italians are there. And looking at it, I think trying to make a stand here is a little futile. I could have put some German stuff here to come in, but there are 2 British mines. There's British aircraft. There's a sub and a battle wagon that have moved over from Cairo. So it's pretty bad. And the convoy zones are key, right? They're absolutely key. If you don't protect them, you might as well not play, right? So speaking of which, the Germans had a couple of planes out here, and the British came along with 2 destroyers and then the fighter and bomber from Malta. And the mines missed and the Germans missed, and it was nothing but 2 destroyers left in there, and they took out a bunch of the German stuff so that the Germans only have a tank and 5 supplies coming on. So the Italians came over with their sub and their destroyer and their air power of a couple of one bomber, I should say, and they were able to dispatch the British without any loss. And then I built a couple of subs in there for the Italians. So back and forth it goes. You are going to lose some stuff in the convoys. I don't think there's much avoiding that. I just think the Allies have too much money that they can pump into it. But as long as you do build some naval units or put some air units on some sort of a combat air patrol, it's a convoy patrol. If you don't do that, you're going to be in real trouble. Now, over here, we can see that the British putting things in Oran. I was going to go Algiers, but there's a lot of Germans here. But then I was able to, I actually swapped out because I, for some reason, thought I couldn't build trucks with the Americans. Something from last game, I think, that held over. So I thought, wait a second, I can. So I swapped out some things. I think a fighter or something, and I brought in a truck and some other stuff last turn, so then they can move up, but I think they can only move 2 actually, and they can't use the road, so these guys got to go back. I had to put a blocker here so that the Germans' fast units wouldn't come around, but now that all that stuff's there, I'm going to make a command decision and put him in there. Okay, changing on the fly as we realize certain things. So that's about where we are now. The German sub was sunk by the American destroyer, so they built a sub this turn, and so I thought, well, I'm going to sink it and just get rid of any questions, and I built 2 more destroyers. So yeah, it's I'm not really sure about that rule for the German subs being able to instantly move and attack when they're built, and again, I might be missing something in the rulebook. Let me know. Other than that, though, you can see the minefields are bristling. Lots of mines being put in various spots. You can only put them where you have units or control. So Alagela got one, Sirte got one, and Benghazi got some. And Marith, I'm really bulking up. And of course, Tunis got their first one because only the Germans are there. And this is their first turn. So the only trouble with the Oran convoy is that there's only one way to get through all this stuff when you're not using a lot of trucks, and that blocks up the Oran convoy because you can only have 10 units in there, and right now there's I guess 7, not including the truck, so they can put in 3 things, and I guess that's all I've got is 3 guys, but typically that would be a pretty modest addition of units. So, well, I guess if the Germans only putting 1 in, maybe it's not that modest. But time is ticking. Only 6 turns left. We'll see if the Allies are able to breach on this wall here. Now that looks pretty imposing until you realize they defend at a 2, not a 4. But hey, they're trying. All right, as we head to round 10 here, a pattern seems to be developing. And I just hope that I'm doing it right. As you can see, the British aren't putting anything else in the long way into the game. But I think that might be a mistake. So we're going to find out if that's a mistake indeed. But we do have one more landing of people and artillery and a truck that can take most of them up the road. But we did capture Benghazi. We took back our British truck. I'm thinking the Italians probably should have retreated that guy last round with the supplies. But again, you never know. You think that you might actually get some hits, and we didn't really get too many hits. And the landmines that adorned the eastern border of Benghazi decided to hit absolutely nothing. So that was fun. And the British just swarmed across. Did lose some units, of course, but nothing too untoward. So Benghazi is part of the victory conditions if the Allies are going to want to have a major victory. They have to have Benghazi. So you got major victory. They have to control Benghazi and Tripoli. Okay. Now that's going to be a chore. We got 5 turns left. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, including taking Tripoli. That could be a problem. Up here, it's been kind of interesting. I just did a couple of attacks into Constantine, and the Allies got shredded. You may remember, I did have my British convoy here, but what I did was kind of, as I'm learning the game, I made a command decision to put it here, come in and attack with 6 infantry, and killed 3 things, but lost all 6 infantry. Then the Americans went in with a tank and a bomber and some men, and yeah, it didn't work. Over here, the Tunis convoy was sunk and cost the Germans and the Italians dearly, not only in ships and planes, but also in their reinforcements. So in the last reinforcement, the Italians got 2 artillery, which you see here, and the Germans are only going to get 2 artillery. Now I've got 2 damaged battleships, but they're going to stick around. And essentially anything that wants to come into Tunis is going to pay a steep price. The British had to put some money into a fighter and to get some supply back onto Malta, so I can cash in that supply to get the $15 reinforcement points, we'll call it. And the Italians built a sub to go along. We bought a fighter and a truck because we definitely need to start moving some supplies forward. So we got, some guys up front here and building some minefields. Got these are doubles, by the way, and in these 3 zones, they're all doubles. Excuse me. So we got to get some supplies up here so they can actually fight when the British arrive in a couple of turns. The Meredith infantry stack is holding. I don't see a reason to really move them out of here right now. So we're going to hold them there. And remember, Tunis, the capture of Tunis is an automatic instant win. So can't have that happen. But if I can't get more units in there because of the Tunis convoy, that could be a problem. So knowing that, I built another battleship and a destroyer. Not really sure how to combat that effectively with the Axis. I guess I could just build some planes and send them and hope that my ground units are enough to hold on and my minefields hold up. But they have not been great. They've been okay. But again, minefields don't destroy anything. They just stall it. So as I'm going through this, now I see if I hit a minefield and it's not going to be a big battle, maybe 1 unit or something, or maybe it's empty, I'll just leave a tank behind because the tank can move 2 on the road. So he'll just catch up next battle. So that's kind of where we're at. Air power again, that's going to be a big deal. So there you go. I haven't bought any French units up to this point, mainly because, well, I've forgotten for a couple of the purchases, but also just the idea that the Americans tend to have some important builds, and they kind of need all their money, and their stuff shoots a lot better. Okay, well, here we go. We've got 5 rounds left. It's looking pretty good for the Allies right now, but again, we'll see. They're running on a clock. It's definitely on a clock. We'll see if the Italians can stall them long enough to save Tripoli and Mareth from being taken. Right, heading into turn 11, and the British continue their relentless march, although it does, I won't say really bottleneck, but it slows down a little bit here because you go from being able to place 10 units and 10 units, now you can only do 8. So you got to leave some guys behind, and I probably should have left more men behind, or more tanks behind and less men, but well, we'll see what happens here. Got to go into Elagala next. The Italians pulled out and built some more mines, hoping to slow down the relentless British, but there are only 4 turns left, so Tripoli may or may not fall. They have enough supplies. I don't know if they've got enough bodies. We shall see. Up here, a bit of an interesting thing happened. You see that Algiers is in American hands, but it wasn't a moment ago. No, it was in Italian hands. It was pretty weak here because I've been pouring money into boats, as you can see, and lots of aircraft for the Americans. And so it was a little light. And so the Germans did an attack, and it went pretty well. They only did 1 round, burnt 1 supply, came back, and then the Italians went in. And they had a very successful attack. They sent in 2 artillery plus the planes from Sicily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So back they go. And they were able to take it and took all the supplies and the 2 trucks. But there was an American infantry here and an artillery here and some bombers that could all reach. So we went in and took it back. So that's where we're at now. Pretty thin on units up here, but so are the Germans because the Tunis convoy was sunk to a man. Nothing left. The Italians decided to spend their money on mines and boats. The British may come and sink those. I'm not sure, but yeah. It just feels like I can't get anything going with the Axis because with the British having so much air and naval power, I can't even get anything on shore. Last turn they landed 1 or 2 men in a truck, and they're lucky to do so. So we'll keep plugging away and see if we can't find a solution here. But you're limited to the number of sculpts there are for boats. And the British are now down to 1 more destroyer and 2 subs. Of course, this stuff could get destroyed, and then they just build it again next round. Now, as bleak as that looks, the Allies still have to get over here and take this stuff. And with a bit of a dearth of land units, that could prove challenging. But I could also just throw air power at this and lose some planes, trade them for the few German land units. There's only 6 German land units on the board right now. So we'll see what we can do here. I'll probably end up building a mine here and then build my entire German build here and move these guys back into Tunis at some point. Don't have to go yet though, because the tanks aren't quite in range, but these tanks certainly are. They can come into Kasserine, have a little bit of cover, and then we're going to have a fighter and 4 bombers that will be able to hit that. So might be time to get out of Kasserine and maybe bring up some Italians to be meat shields, bring these guys back. Yeah. All right. Well, wish me luck here. Turn 11. Can I somehow stop the Allies from their relentless pursuit of glory here in North Africa? 3 turns remain, and the ending kind of hangs in the balance here. It does look like Tripoli will be attacked in 2 turns. I didn't want to have too much stuff up at the front here for the Italians, so yeah, they're kind of in a bad way, but we'll see. These mines have been completely anemic. I had 9 mines on the border here, and none of them hit. And the sea mines, I had 2 sea mines in Tripoli again, no hits. And I had 2 destroyers, a sub, and 2 fighters in there, and they all died. and all they took out was, I think, a British destroyer and a British sub, and that was it. And they lost everything, and the only thing landing for the Germans is going to be an artillery. So it's been really tough. Up here, more stuff for in the convoy. The Italians did have a little bit of a coup. I flew a couple of bombers from Sicily, 1, 2, 3, and we took out a British fighter and a couple of tanks, so that was fun. Yeah, it's hard when you can't land anything. It really is. So the Americans now have 6 tanks here within range of the Kasserine. And again, big stack, but defending at 2s and a couple of 3s. Maybe the mines will show up this time. It's really hard to say. I've been building them everywhere, and they have been really, really ineffective at slowing down the Allies. So maybe that's a thing. You know, if your mines are no good, maybe the Allies just roll you and there's not much you can do about it. You know, if I could hold back 4 or 5 units per turn, you know, across the map, could look very different. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. We've got a stack of 8 Shermans coming aboard here for the Allies. We're just going to, you know, 1 turn. So this is turn, next turn it's going to come on here, and then move to here, turn 12. Turn 13 goes here, 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 and then turn 14 it can attack. And I don't see the Axis having much to stop that with. So I think unless the mines do their trick, could be a major Allied victory here. But time will tell. Still got to roll a lot of dice. 2 turns remain, and here we go. So the Italians had to break out of Tripoli, and they did that, and they did some damage actually. Able to take out 4 units, but they lost 5 or 6 along the way. So a little costly, but really took the steam out of the Brits here. So they're going to have to take a look at what can be done. On this turn, everybody will move up to Sirte and take a final shot. I could try to go in with these 4 tanks and a bomber, and then I've got some more help over here. The bomber can make it, but not the fighters, nowhere to land. So I could take a shot, but there is anti-aircraft, and there are a number of mines here. There's 4 mines on that border, and then another one here. So, and you can't blitz anyway with the Matildas, and there's no reason for the Shermans to blitz. So that could be a little difficult. Over here, though, things are looking pretty grim for the Germans. Oh, I forgot to roll out this battle here. My mistake. So I gotta roll that battle, and there might not even be a battle because we've got mines. So the Americans just came in with a man and artillery and a plane. Just have to kill 1 guy because that's a truck. But here are the mines, and yeah, we got 2 of them in there, as you can see. It's got the double-sided one, so we're gonna roll. The mines in the last round stopped 2 British guys from coming in, but here we go. So we need 3s. See, this is what's been happening all game with these mines. These 6 I've honestly probably rolled 60 or 70 dice for mines, and I've gotten like 4 hits. It's unreal. Anyway, so now we will have the American infantry and artillery at a 3. At a 3, but both missed. And the fighter, and there's the supply because I didn't want to spend it until they were in there. And the fighter at a 4. That's a hit. That's all I need. And the Italian likely wouldn't have even spent a supply. He'd probably just want to retreat on out of there. So he's not even going to shoot. So there you go. So that truck becomes an American truck, and off we go. I don't see another American truck available, so I don't know if they actually get it or if it looks like this. I'm going to have to look that up. If you know, let me know. But their trucks are here. Got 3 truck sculpts. I don't see any other truck sculpts, so that is it. Okay, so carrying on now. Yeah, the Germans are only going to be landing 1 infantry because the British came up and did oh, I forgot to take this off. The mines were anemic again. Oh, actually, no. In this one here, 2 British destroyers got taken out by mines. That's right. So that was pretty cool because there were 2 mines and they both got, I forgot to remove the one. So now we have just 1 lone German infantry coming into Tunis. That's all that made it through the blockade. And the Irish have loaded up this, hoping to bring in some guys to help with the defense of Tripoli. So I'm going to load up infantry here on the German turn, so the Allies will have to divide and conquer. Not that the Americans can't use their bombers, but we're going to do what we can. We need more bodies to come in for the Axis, and hopefully at least make it a bit of a game on round 14. But here we are, round 13 coming up. The big stack of 8 American tanks is on the prowl. They'll get to Kasserine Pass next turn, and in they go. If these Americans haven't already taken Tunis out by that time, which more than likely they will. This plane has to find a place to go. I guess we'll put it here. Unfortunately, that'll stop 1 British tank from landing, but I guess you can't always get what you want. All right, looking pretty bleak. Again, I have been trying to rule the seas, rule the convoy zones, and essentially stop the Axis units before they actually get on the North African shore, because then you don't have to fight them. Now that also means that I'm pretty thin on units. As you can see for the British, it's, what do we got here? Like 10 units? 10 ground units, that's it. But we've stopped the Axis from building up, so the 10 ground units is all we've needed over here. And yeah, the Navy and the Air Force has been doing the heavy lifting. If anybody knows if I'm messing up a rule of some kind that would prevent me from doing what I'm doing, please let me know, because this looks like a very effective way to defeat the Axis. The other part of this whole strategy is that the mines have been absolutely pathetic and haven't been slowing down hardly anybody this whole game. So knowing that, you know, maybe what I'm doing here is working and it's perfectly well within the rules, and I just got lucky. That could be it too. So, oh, I forgot to move my British supply in from the last turn. I didn't put anything there. I just built my tanks. All right, there we go. On to the second last round. We'll see if we even need one, because if Tunis falls, that's it. The final round, and it's really looking like an Allied victory here, but we'll roll it out anyway. Tripoli is not a for sure thing, because the Allies came down just with a lone destroyer to try to take out some Italians, and it got taken out by a mine. So, yeah, they did all right in protecting us. They got a few guys on shore, and they split their forces enough so they could get some guys going north here. But as you can see, we got just a huge conflagration of tanks here. Oh, they can't all be in there, of course. 10. So I got to back some guys up here. These stacking rules really bite into your... that's going to make this all back up now. I actually thought of this before I started filming, and I thought, oh, I'll just take care of it later. But so we've got in here a max of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 6. 6 tanks. 7, 8, 9, 10. So one of these bombers, which had the legs, can go back. In fact, that was one that came on this turn, so you can just stay back there. But the stacking limits sure do cause some grief every now and again. But you can see there are lots and lots of tanks coming in, and there are only 2 mines here, 1 mine here. There's a lot of mines here, so the British, I think, are in tough to take Tripoli. Unless, of course, the mines get no hits. Then they should be okay. Plus the British have air power here that they can use to take Tripoli. So not looking great. Over here, Americans can bring these 6 tanks, and they could bring up to 7 more into Tunis because the stacking limit of 13. So it's looking pretty bleak for the Axis at this point. The Germans had a stack of 10 infantry and 1 artillery in the Tunis convoy, and all but the infantry and artillery were killed, and then the American destroyer took care of those 2. So yeah, the Germans got nothing across this turn. Italians have fared much better, but too little too late for the Axis, I think. But we'll roll it out and we'll let you know how it all goes. Well, that is it, folks. That is the end. There ain't no more. We're going to start over here in Tripoli, where the Italians held. Their mines actually kicked in and kept 3 infantry back, and they lost a lot of guys, but then they were able to land a bunch of infantry, so that was pretty cool. Mareth held, never got attacked, but yes, Tunis did fall. Now this game was a lot closer because I absolutely forgot about doing something, thinking, oh, I'll have plenty. I forgot to bring in more supply with the Americans. I brought some in on the first couple rounds. That's all the supply we have left. 2, that is it. And the British and the Americans didn't bring any in. So, had this attack failed, that would have been difficult. Now, there's no supply left here either, because the Germans ran out of supply, which makes a lot more sense after you see how badly they got ravaged by the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force, and to a lesser extent the United States Navy. So, there you have it. The Axis just kind of got pushed back. The mines did not stall like I hoped they would. And this is really tricky here, and I think it was probably by design that they didn't make Tunis just like a curve or something and only adjacent to one thing, because you have effectively 3 borders you have to cover. Now this one here, if this falls, you got more problems, but you got to cover this, and you got to cover between Kasserine and Tunis. And yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Now, in this case, a few tanks got left behind thanks to the mines, a couple of tanks here. So they finally started kicking in, and it makes a real difference. Especially here, I'm noticing that, you got to get over here really quickly, and then you've got 8 units. Now, if you got your 2 Shermans back here and some aircraft, you got a few more you can bring in. You might have a shot. But, yeah, it didn't go well for them. You can see all their tanks are gone. And the Italians only had this left. Right? That's all they had left. And I was going to build another mine here with the Germans. That's why I left him alive. But I couldn't do that because, of course, the game is over when Tunis falls. So my takeaways from this game, first of all, I hope I played it properly. Secondly, own the water as the Allies. Just own it. And again, this is going to really figure into whether or not this was an accurate game. Those German subs, when it says you can put them on and move an attack in the same time you put them on, that confuses me a little bit. So I must be reading it wrong. I must be interpreting it wrong. And maybe there's something in the rule book I haven't been able to find. So hey, if you know, go ahead and clear that up for me. Otherwise, fairly solid Allied win, although their supply needs are quite dire at this point. But with the shooting over, they should be able to bring it forward. The British went through theirs pretty well, but with the Italians backing up each turn, because they didn't want to lose anything, I think that's a poor way to do it. I think what we have to do is leave an Italian infantry in each zone. Yeah, they only defended 2, but they're going to chew up a supply marker, or 2 if they use more than 5 units. So I think that's the way to go. I think I did that wrong. Not rules-wise, just strategy-wise. But hey, it's only my second game. I'm only playing solo, and just trying to figure it out. But overall, a fun game, and hopefully you enjoyed watching the video. And as we always say here at the Hilltop Pillbox, hug your loved ones, thank your friends for playing, and may those dice, even if they're D10s who act really crazy, may they be with you.